everyone, and welcome to the Spin Zone. On tonight's episode, we're going to talk about Nepal, a small South Asian country in crisis. Now, what crisis, you might ask? Elise and the rest of the gang here are going to tell you about the crisis, the individuals involved, and the causes of conflict. Thank you guys for tuning in, and there's more to come.
Hello, this is Elise Polentes with your segment on the history of Nepali politics. The history of Nepal is complex and interesting. A history of Hindu kingship has overshadowed multiple attempts for democratization and continues to plague the transitional government in Nepal today. The original Shah of the Shah dynasty that ruled Nepal for over 2 centuries rose to power as the King of Gorkha, a small principality in western Nepal. The Kingdom of Gorkha grew into modern-day Nepal. Throughout the 1700s, the Gorkhalis expanded by conquest until 1814, when the Gorkhali Kingdom had control over a lot of the modern nation, including the Kathmandu Valley. Shortly thereafter, the Anglo-Nepalese War broke out, and borders were drawn with the defeat of the Nepalese. Thus, a modern-day Nepal was born as a country. The Shah dynasty was still in power at this point, despite attempts to reform the monarchy in 1846, 1951, and 1959. The Shah dynasty overshadowed Nepal's politics until a new constitution was implemented in 1990. Even though the 1990 constitution established a constitutional monarchy with a parliamentary democracy, Nepal was still officially a Hindu kingdom. The idea of Nepal as a Hindu kingdom is central to understanding today's conflict. Nepali nationalism was constructed by the Shah Hindu dynasty. Because the theoretical state of Nepal was created before the geographic nation's borders were set, the regime was able to systematically construct a singular Nepalese identity through socio-political discourse and institutionalization. This, of course, was incredibly problematic throughout the history of Nepal, considering the plethora of cultural, social, religious, and linguistic groups that coexist in Nepal. It is also important to note that the guidance of Hindu god kingship was superior to any individual monarch under the Shah dynasty. Religion played a huge role in the construction of Nepalese nationalism. This identity construct has resonated throughout Nepalese political history to the present day. Despite attempted social reform, old values from the constructed Hindu Nepalese identity are embedded in the culture. Hopefully this brief political history and explanation of Nepal's identity construct will help you understand the other segments of this presentation and the factors that led up to the 2007 abjuration of the 1990 Constitution. Thanks for listening. This is Elise Valente.
Thank you, Elise. Now let us bring the conflict into the present. On February 13, 1994, the Communist Party of Nepal started the People's War, which was intended to depose the royal parliamentary system with a People's Republic. Maoist rebels gained significant control over Nepal's rural areas, while the government retained control over the cities and towns. The situation changed drastically in 2001 when Maoist rebels withdrew from peace talks and began to attack police and army posts in 42 of Nepal's 75 districts, resulting in a declaration of state of emergency, and the Royal Nepalese Army was finally engaged in the conflict. The U.S. State Department declared the Maoists to be a terrorist organization, and the U.S. Congress approved $12 million for weapons and soldier training. Support for the monarchy began to wane when King Gyanendra performed a royal coup in 2005, in which he dismissed the entire government, assumed full executive powers, and declared a second state of state emergency, which restricted a wide range of civil liberties. In 2005, Maoist rebels announced unilateral ceasefire in order to join a loose alliance with Nepal's 7 main political parties. A people's movement was created to restore democracy and induced weeks of pro-democracy strikes, which forced the king to reinstate the parliament. The Comprehensive Peace Accord ended the conflict on November 21, 2006.
Hello, Kevin checking in back here for the Spin Zone. We're going to talk about the collection of factors that have led to the civil war in Nepal. The first one is strife among the political parties. The second one is social inequality, economic inequality, including the untapped natural resources, poverty, underdevelopment, a caste system, and ethnic subdivisions. Thank you.
Thanks. Now moving on to our special report on structural violence. Structural violence refers to situations where injustice, repression, and exploitation are built into the fundamental structures in society. In the context of Nepal, this is due to a differential access to social resources which is built into the system.
Though the conflict officially ended in 2006, Nepal still faces many challenges today. Nearly 50,000 Nepalese people remain internally displaced, and the country faces several developmental challenges, including poor transportation and energy infrastructure, as well as a large youth population. Additionally, negotiations to create a permanent constitution to replace the interim constitution of 2007 have failed, creating a lack of institutional authority within the government.